Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast.
Got to start this podcast with a shout out to Jodi.
Because?
I observed something and heard something just now, you talking to your daughter Phoebe, who is, by the way, if you didn't know, she is with us as our producer this summer.
Yeah, I don't know
Producer
that we've actually even
Phoebes.
mentioned that to this point, or have we?
Well, maybe once or twice.
Phoebe joined us for a couple of podcasts, but I don't remember if that was filling in or what that was.
When my mom was in the hospital, Phoebe was here helping out, and she's helped us out all summer.
Yeah.
And now we're calling her producer Phoebe because she's taking on so much. It's been very helpful.
Yeah. Well, just so to bring everybody up to speed here, Jodi, you and Phoebe were talking about organizing birthday parties for your other daughter, Taylor.
Her birthday is this month.
And I heard you in your speaking to Phoebe. I was so happy to hear it because the way you were giving her directions was like, she's 21.
Yeah.
She's an adult.
Yes, she is.
And you're still giving her directions as a parent. You're not overbearing on her, but it's like it was nice because the reason I'm bringing this up is because I do the same thing with my kids.
Sure.
I have reached a point where I don't say you should do this, you should do that, you need to do this because they're adults now.
Right.
But
you're saying it was age appropriate guidance.
It was age appropriate, but it's also that thing you've discussed before where you never stop being a parent.
No, gosh, yeah, it's such a thing. And you don't know this is going to happen to you when you're a parent until you're in it. That your parenting you has to change as they change.
Yes.
And yes, she's a young adult, but I'm always going to be her mother, and that's the battle inside. And some people get it wrong. You can see it clearly, not say wrong, but struggle with it. You know, being too overbearing or still treating them like they're little.
Yeah.
When in fact she's a young lady, but she's still my baby.
And I the way I heard you do it, and it's the thing I've learned not to do, is to tell them this is what you need to do. This is how you should do it.
No,
it's always the way I approach it is a suggestion. It's like, I know this has worked for me in the past. You can use it. You don't have to use it, and I'll tell them, you know, call the car company,
right?
Or do this or do that.
I don't even remember what direction I was giving. I was offering to help her with something she's doing for Taylor.
Notifying some friends.
You're right.
And you were just like, maybe you should put together you send out a text or an email to everybody.
Right.
Or let everybody know.
Right.
You know.
Ahead of time.
I think that's more than just maternal for Jodi because she does that with her mom. She does that in other social settings with her family. I mean, Jodi is an organizer by nature anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's certainly... It's definitely mom-oriented when it comes to Taylor and Phoebe,
of course.
But I think it comes to you naturally. But, we, as parents, and I know that I made the deliberate attempt to do that also, it wasn't when they became 21. It was always age-appropriate. By the time you're 13, there are certain decisions they should be making.
Yeah.
And, for me, and it was a little exaggerated probably for me that I didn't want to be the same way. I love my mom with all my heart, but my mom was a dictator in everything. And I was not going to do that to our girls. By the time that they could make decisions, I was not going to be. It's not about me. I'm the parent. You're the child. Mm-hmm. And so, at 10, when they were old enough to make certain decisions, you have them start to make those so that they learn them. At 13, at 16.
Not just that, it builds confidence for them to be making their own decisions. That's how confidence is built, and that's how an adult is built.
Right.
But honestly, I never wanted to be a heavy-handed parent either because I feel like that closes the door.
Yeah.
I've seen that too many times in I've seen that in families where it's like there's a wall up. And why is the wall up? Is because it's just so heavy-handed. No one can breathe. A child loves you unconditionally, which is probably, confusing for them because you're the parent and they do love you unconditionally, but they can't breathe in your presence and be who they are.
Yeah.
And we weren't going to do that either. We weren't their best friends either. I always made that distinction. Taylor and Phoebe have heard me say that more, right, Phoebes? That I just never wanted to. I'm your mother. I want you to feel comfortable with me, but I'm not going to raise you as you're my best friend because that also is not what you need. So it's a very fine line.
Yeah.
You don't need to be their best friend, but you don't need to be a dictator.
Right.
It's just something you probably fight with constantly learning
to do. And that may even change for you as they get even older. And I'm just saying from my experience that trip I just took with Sammy, my oldest, he's 37, to Chicago. I was dad, but there were times where you felt like it was just two buddies on a trip.
Yeah.
you know?
So, yeah,
I
and
don't
those
know if
things ebb and flow probably in the moment.
Yeah. Or like if I did that with Maddie or Jackson, who are in their lower 20s, it wouldn't be, hey, we're buds.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still being dad. Sammy being older, it just felt a little more.
See, it's interesting, and I guess everybody's at different places with that. For me, once Taylor and Phoebe started driving, that began to change things. Mm-hmm. Certainly once they graduated high school, I will always be dad. I love being dad. It's my favorite job in the whole world. But if this trip that we just took to New York City, for example, Taylor and Phoebe were choosing and doing and wanting to, suggesting things. I am dad, but I don't feel that I'm in any sort of authority kind of role. If I'm there to be a resource by this age, by the time that they're, in their 20s, if I had to be, the authoritarian, then I certainly would, obviously, because I know different people are at different places in their lives. But I feel like if we hadn't set that up from the beginning, it's almost too late now if I'm having to give continuous direction on things.
Too.
You know what I mean?
I've heard that
and
too.
So, I mean, at different stages of life, I mean, there will be like explaining insurance and explaining stuff like that. That's a different thing. But this most recent trip that we took really was a lot of fun because everybody's participating. Everybody's suggesting what to do. Everybody is, Phoebe's whipping out the map. Said, "Dad, you're walking the wrong way." I mean, it's like it all works, together when you get to that place.
Look, nobody becomes a parent with a real instruction book. You figure it out as you go, but just know that it just changes along the way.
It adjusts the whole time.
You adjust the whole time based on who they are and what they need at the moment.
Yeah, it is a tough habit to break. And I remember that when they were really little, Jodi. I mean, that's where you start to realize, okay, if you continue to do everything for them, then they're really not going to be learning. And part of our job as parents is to help the learning part. And it's difficult to get out of the habit of doing because
I think a lot of very involved parents when they're little, you're so involved because you care about every little breath they take and every little step they take, and you want everything to be so great for them that you just start doing things that become habit. Yeah. I will tell you this story. I remember Taylor probably does not even remember this, but she was maybe in junior high or early high school years, and she was about to leave to go on a little trip, like a weekend camp thing with some friends, and the mom pulled in the driveway to pick her up at the house we live now. Anyway, I remember she had a rolling suitcase, and I was helping her out. She had a bunch of stuff, and I'm running, I don't want to be late, and she had a bunch of stuff. So I was helping her with the suitcase out of the drive, out on the walkway. And I said, hey, do it like this. And, I was just so that she could manage it more easily. And she, I guess maybe because her friends were there too, she was like, no, don't do, she was like, I got it, Mom. I know how to roll a suitcase. And I remember thinking, oh, she's right.
Yeah.
And I was just in the habit of being that person, especially when she's in distress. But just her reaction in that moment taught me, you're right. She's right. I don't need to be mother now. I just need to be mother waving, like not helping.
Yeah. You can support. You're not always doing for now, and you're not always correcting, and they're not.
No.
Yeah.
And I remember when the first times we started to let them order for themselves at restaurants, it was cute to do, but I loved watching it because those small little things build confidence in them.
Yeah.
You think you're doing it for them. I'm going to make your life easier, but you're actually making their life harder.
Yeah.
Because you're hopefully not going to be ordering for them when they're 25.
Yeah. I learned to not say no unless it was absolutely necessary. Or if I said no, I always tried to steer and coach the reason why so that it wasn't just a no. Because my mom was one of those that it was just because she said no. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't teach anybody.
Because I said so.
Doesn't teach anybody anything.
Yes.
But as you get older, you realize, okay, well, wait a second. They're their own person. They're not going to hurt themselves by doing what they do. They need to be able to do things their way. And it was usually if you catch it the first time, then you'll be ready for it, the next time it happens. But it's an evolving, it's an ever evolving stage. But the same thing, Jodi, with the food thing. I always thought that was cool. Now the bill started getting a lot more expensive when they did that. But
when one of them always ordered the filet.
The other thing that I really, that I have to say, and this is a compliment. it's a compliment to Jodi, but it's also something that I just feel good about this time period. It just occurred to me that you and I did not dilute our own parenting with, the girls. We were, even if you and I disagreed on something, we would align separately. And I don't mean, it's not that they didn't see arguments that you and I had. I'm saying that in terms of parenting them, if there was something that you and I disagreed on, we resolved that before we went forward and had the conversation. They never saw conflicted direction coming from me and you. And I think,
Not that I know of.
Right.
No. I never thought about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wouldn't have, it's one of those where, if go ask mom, go ask dad, or whatever. If you don't want to make the decision,
why would I do that to children? That's not fair to children. I never thought of doing that. I never wanted to do that. Have they seen us tie up with each other? Absolutely. Like in the moment.
Well, yeah, that's different. That's not the same thing as not being aligned on the parenting. Because if as a parent, if one is disrespecting the other, then who's going to lead? That would be like you having two different bosses and two different bosses disagreeing. Well, how are you going to choose?
And they always know they can go to one or the other to get the answer they want.
Right.
Yeah, then they're working you.
Yeah.
Anyway, that would be an unstable environment. You're right. Yeah. Not fun. So
I want to go
Tricky
back to
stuff.
Something Murphy said earlier, that, Jodi is that way with her mom and with other relatives and all that. Is she that way with us too?
In this room, I think it's obvious. Yeah, can't you tell?
I think so.
But I think that's her.
Thought about it before.
I think that's Jodi's. But that's one of the things that I've actually always admired about Jodi is because you're not wishy-washy. You make a decision and you engage. It's what you. That's in your DNA. I think that's who you are.
It is. It always it astonishes me when I see people who always every time they see each other they're like, we should do this. I don't know why we don't do this more often. I'm thinking. All you have to do is make a phone call or send a message and it's done. Like planning is actually easy. It's communication. So anyway, yeah, I roll in here sometimes early in the morning and say, remember we have this today. Let's not forget we have this today.
Yeah. And I'm like, what?
Does it seem overbearing? Does it seem just
not
good?
Overbearing. Just like keeping. I look at it with you as keeping us on track.
Yeah.
When we start to stray, you kind of hit.
Wow.
It's like a bowling alley with the rubber bumpers. The ball starts going to a gutter ball, you bump us back in.
Okay. I guess I get that analogy.